Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on 3 succulent trees that Ashley from England sent to me last summer. Here's a look at the plants I'll be working on today. This one is a Crassula ovata, the Hobbit variety. Over here is a Crassula tetragona, and behind that is a Aeonium. It's a tree houseleek, and it's the green goblin variety. So very interesting plants sent to me by Ashley. The trees are looking really healthy now and they're growing really well. Let's go back in time to last summer and I'll show you what they looked like when I first planted them. I got this package in the mail yesterday and I opened it up right away because Ashley, he told me that there's live plant material in here, so I thought I better give it some light. I think this package has been in the mail for at least 3 weeks. And it looks like Customs opened it up, inspected it, and thought, yeah, I guess it's okay. Ashley's from Portsmouth, Hampshire in England. So thanks, Ashley. I'll take good care of these and try and get them growing with vigor. Some of them, they're looking pretty dried up, but hopefully when I plant them, they'll spring to life again. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to get some fresh bonsai soil, stick the cuttings in it, and see what happens. In the package, I've got Aeonium, arboreum, tree, mouse leek, green goblin, 4 of those, 3 Crassula tetragon, I think, tree pine succulent, and 5 Crassula ovata Hobbit Jades. So that's kind of cool. It'll go nicely with my Gollum Jades. These succulents came in this little styrofoam box, which is a cool little box. So I'm going to put some holes in the box and I'm going to plant some of them right in this styrofoam box. All right, here I go with a light misting. I better put this on kind of mist. And I think that'll do. Into the greenhouse they go. So there's the succulents. All of them. I never expected these tree houseleeks to grow and survive. They look pretty miserable when I got them out of the mail. But look at them now. They're looking really, really nice. All of these varieties of succulents can be grown in a tree-like form as a bonsai. I'm going to start today by working on my Hobbit Jades. I'll start the work by cleaning up some of these leaves that have fallen off. There's not too many of them. In fact, no, there's another one back here. Dried up one. And then I'm going to remove the leaves. You can see there's a leaf right at the base of the soil here. I'm going to remove that. Take that out. There's another one on the other side, right here. That just popped off. Keep my soil in there. And then I've got some lower leaves down here. I'm going to take some of those off also. Just so I get a bit of a trunk. There's another dried up leaf back here. So this trunk comes up and then it divides. It has a branch off to the right, has a branch out the back, and it's got some leaves down low which would probably develop into branches too. So I'm going to cut it back. I'm going to cut this one back to here, like that. And the rear one, branch, I'll cut back to here, making that plant very compact. So now I'll do the plant in the middle here. I've got a low branch here that's developing well. So I'm going to remove some of the lower leaves on this. Makes it a little easier to get in there to water if there's not leaves so close to the soil line. And then I'm going to prune this branch back to here, keeping everything compact, getting taper and movement. And I've got a branch developing on the inside here. So I think I'm going to prune this tall one right back to here. Like that, taking the whole top off. Next, I'll move on to the tree on the left-hand side up front here. So I've got a little branch coming off the inside. I have a branch developing here, so I will take this one off here. There's one growing up here. I can reduce that back. And then I'm going to take off some of these lower leaves. You can see there, it's interfering with the plant behind it. There I go. There's a weed in there. I can take off this lower leaf and this one. I think that's got that little one pruned up. So now let's go around to the back. There's two around the back here. Again, I'll just prune the height down. And this one too. Prune it back. And this one I will prune back to here. Quite a hard pruning. And then I'll remove all these lower leaves. A lot of leaves down low. So these plants have been in the basement, just chilling down there. But even at those temperatures, around 10 degrees Celsius, the jades seem to grow really well. They're amazing plants. And I'll take some of these leaves off too. Raising the canopies up a bit. Okay, I think that's quite good. Now I need to prune this one back like that. Okay, I'll clean up these leaves. And there, quite a difference. You can see it's gone from quite a tall forest down to quite small. Hobbit size. So that will do. So I've just got to let them grow again, thicken up, keep them pruning to try and get lots of taper and movement into the trunks. And I don't know what they'll end up looking like in the far future, but I'll just keep pruning, clipping, growing them, trying to get movement and taper and branching. So it'll be interesting. There's a look at the amount I took off today. Quite a bit. Next, I'll work on my jades, my crassulas, my pine tree crassulas, they call these. These can grow quite large. You can get them over 1 meter tall or 3 or 4 feet tall. So they can grow quite large. Most jades can. They can grow into quite large woody plants. Here's a look at my needle jades or pine tree jades. They kind of look like a spruce tree or something when they get mature. And so I think I'll probably grow it in that kind of a style, like a coniferous tree. So I'm going to obey most of the basic bonsai rules. Here we've got a plant that comes up, it divides from 1 into 3. And generally in bonsai you want to divide from 1 to 2. If you divide from 1 to 3, sometimes you get a swelling at the junction point of the branches. That's why we always try and go from 1 to 2. So I'm going to prune off this inside one here, like that. So I'm dividing from 1 to 2. And there's a lot of dead kind of branches. There's an aerial root there. Now these trees are just in the basement. You know, at 10 degrees Celsius, they're actually lower right now. It's about, I don't know, 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. And it's growing aerial roots in the basement, which is amazing. Just cleaning off some of these older leaves. So I'm coming up, I'm dividing the main trunk here again. I have a trident. I've got dividing from 1 to 3. So I want to pick my best branches. And I've got to decide, do I want this trunk to continue going straight or should I prune the center one off? Keep my outside 2 so it divides from 1 to 2 here. Interesting. I think I'm going to go for the division. I'm going to take out the middle one. Like that. So now it divides from 1 to 2 here. This one continues to grow up as 1. And I don't want this side branch to be taller than the main trunk line, so I'm going to prune it back, and I'll prune it back to an outward facing leaf. There are buds in here. I could prune it back just above there, and I will. To there. I'll prune the main trunks back also, so I'm going to prune it to here and to here. That gets this tree all pruned up. Now, I guess this is the main tree here. You can see there's aerial roots forming. So it has quite a clump. It has the main thickest trunk here. There's an auxiliary branch or tree growing closely beside it that's connected with an aerial root somehow. It's amazing. Boy, do you keep that or do you prune that away? I don't know. It's a good question. You can see it. There's a new branch here coming out on old wood. They do back bud very easily. You can see there's buds all over the trunk here. So I've got to decide, do I want branches this low on the trunk? You know, this tree, my first branch is this height, and this tree it's even lower. I'm thinking I don't. So I'm going to prune off that lowest branch. Like that. Now here I'm coming up with the main trunk. I'm dividing into 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions. So that's too many. And I've got to decide which ones I want to keep. If I keep the ones in the middle, they're the thickest and there's less of a fork. If I were to remove one of these, then keep the outer two, the fork would be very wide and I think it would look not so good. So I'm going to remove the outer ones. Aerial roots and all. And I'll remove the outer one here. Come on. Oh, there's an aerial root attached to it. Okay, so now I'm dividing from 1 to 2. I should remove this lowest branch. And then I got to decide about this one. I'm thinking I don't want like a multi-trunk tree for my main tree. So I'm going to remove it. It's an interesting feature, but you know, as it grows, it just becomes an unusual feature. It won't contribute to the overall styling of the tree. So it's going to go. And I can plant this as a cutting. So that's gone. So now I'm dividing 1 to 2, and we're getting higher up in the tree. Here I'm dividing again from 1 to 2, so that's good. And I'll prune this one back, maybe even more to there. And then my next division is up here. I'm dividing this branch from 1 to 2, so I'll keep that division and prune it back. This branch I'm coming up, dividing 1 to 2 here. There's another division up top, so I'll keep that one. And I'll prune it back to here. And this one I can prune back a little lower, so maybe to here. Like that. So that's got this main tree pruned up. Just cleaning out some of these old leaves in here. Dried up old leaves. Okay, so that one's cleaned up. Let's go to this back one now, which is actually, what is it? It looks like a clump of 2 trees. It may come off one root system, I don't know. So this one's going to be quite a bit shorter because they're very tall and skinny. So I'm going to take it off. Actually, I'm going to go right down to here and here. Like that. So that's got that little forest all pruned up now. Ready to grow once again. There's my pile of pine jade cuttings. That is a lot. So I could create another forest with all those cuttings. Just one more succulent to work on today, and that's my tree house leeks. So I don't know where the front of the planting is, but they've certainly grown from those miserable looking cuttings I got in the mail. These were in the mail for like 3 weeks. So I don't know how they survived, but they look really nice now. Here's a look at the house leeks. So I'm going to start removing some of these lower leaves. You can't get in here to water at all. So I'm just going to snip them off. I can see it's branching already, which is kind of cool. So I'll take off some of the lower leaves on the branches too, keeping green on my growing tips. Yeah, there's another branch right here. There's 2 branches, one here and one here. Sure likes to branch, that's good. And these can be grown into a nice bonsai too. And succulent bonsai, they're awesome because, you know, you don't have to water them every day. You just gotta kind of keep them in good light. Give them some water and fertilizer when the soil becomes dry. And generally they grow really well. As long as you don't overwater them, you'll keep them alive for a long, long time. And most succulents do get some kind of a woody trunk on them. Now, it's not like a regular tree, but they'll get like a rough kind of woody bark texture, which is pretty cool. Another advantage of these succulents is they, you know, in the hot summers, they do really well. Where most trees suffer in the heat, these things just spring to life. Yeah, and if you want to, you know, have worry-free bonsai where, you know, you don't have to be home to water them every day, succulents are excellent for that. So I'm starting to see all the trunk lines now. Looking quite nice. Just keep removing more leaves. These lower leaves get shaded out eventually anyway, and they'll dry up and fall off as it grows. So you can start to see some of the structure of the plant now. I've got to remove some of these bigger ones and these lower leaves from this one. They're quite large. And these leaves will reduce as you get more branching. They'll become a little bit more miniature looking with time. I obviously must be taking too good a care of these because the leaves are quite large. So you can see some more branching happening here. This branch comes up and there's 2 shoots coming off of it now. So that's pretty exciting. Okay, I would say that is pruned up. I can get in here to water now. You can see the branches. You can see they taper from thin to thick, but that'll change over time as they mature and starts developing a root system. That inverse taper on the trunk will change. Yeah, I think it's looking quite good. Exciting to have a strange new species like this underway. And this styrofoam growing pot, this is what it was shipped in these. So I just put some holes in the bottom of the styrofoam, and I've been growing these. You can see roots coming out the bottom. I've been growing these in the styrofoam pot and they're doing really well. I think it's a good pot for growing trees in. Kind of insulated. Yeah, awesome. Here's a look at all the leaves I took off today. Quite a bit. But now I can see underneath the trees, I can see the branches, and I can get in to water them properly. So that's awesome. And they're starting to look a little more tree-like. I don't have any room in my plant room to grow more trees. However, I can plant more jade cuttings in the same pot, increase the density. So I'll do that today. All right, here I go. So I'm going to prune these cuttings back. You can see this cutting is quite long, so I don't need it that long. So I'm going to take the top off both of these. And then I'll plant it in the soil. So I'll just make a hole down through the soil here. I'll plant the cutting fairly deep. There's one planted, like that. And I think that'll do. That's planted quite densely. I could fit one more on the outside maybe. I'll do it. One more on the outside. Right in like that. There I go. Looking quite nice. Today is quite a warm day. It's 2 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees above freezing. But tonight it's going down to minus 17 degrees Celsius. So there must be cold weather blowing in. And then the next night we're going down to our lowest temperature yet, minus 23 degrees Celsius. That's going to feel awfully cold. Here's a look at the 3 plantings now, all pruned up and ready to grow once again. We've just got to wait for the warm weather to come. So that'll be exciting once spring hits. So thanks very much, Ashley, for sending me the plants all the way from England. It's always exciting taking a cutting and slowly developing it into a bonsai, watching that process over the years. That's what I like about bonsai, is watching that progression. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.